It was a beautiful, sunny afternoon, the kind of day where everything seemed perfect. The air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers, and the chatter of guests added to the soft hum of joy that filled the venue. People were dressed in their best clothes, laughter echoed in the air, and everything about this wedding screamed celebration. But in the midst of this picture-perfect moment, one person was feeling utterly alone. She sat at the corner of the reception, her lavender dress brushing the edge of the table. Her name was Emily. She was the kind of person who wore a warm smile to cover up the deep insecurity she had lived with her entire life. You see, Emily was a plus-sized woman, and at this wedding, she felt like she was invisible to everyone except the ones who were laughing. Across the room, a group of bridesmaids in their matching lavender gowns stood in a tight-knit circle, giggling amongst themselves. They weren't being cruel, at least, not in a way that you could easily spot. But they were looking at Emily, whispering, pointing. It wasn't loud, but it was noticeable. Emily tried to ignore them. She focused on her plate, picking at her food, hoping they would stop. But they didn't. They kept laughing, and the uncomfortable stares only made her retreat further into herself. Then, from across the room, someone walked in. His name was Mark. He was a single father, someone who had experienced his fair share of hardships, having raised his son on his own after a tough divorce. He wasn't at the wedding to judge anyone or be noticed. Mark was simply there to enjoy the evening and make sure his little boy, Caleb, had a good time. But something made him pause as he noticed Emily sitting alone, her face hidden behind a mask of forced cheerfulness. He saw the group of people laughing, the uncomfortable looks that darted toward Emily, and something inside him stirred. It wasn't just pity, it was anger. He could feel his own insecurities flooding back. As a father raising a son, Mark knew how important it was to teach him kindness, respect, and how to stand up for others. But he also knew that this moment wasn't just about the lessons he wanted to teach his son, it was about doing what was right. Mark approached the group of bridesmaids. They didn't even notice him at first. "Excuse me," he said, his voice calm but firm. "You're laughing at her, aren't you?" One of the bridesmaids turned toward him, eyes wide. "What do you mean?" she asked, clearly flustered, not used to being caught in the act. "I mean," Mark continued, "you're laughing at Emily." "Why?" "Because of her size. Because she's different from you." The other bridesmaids started to look a little uncomfortable, their smiles fading as the reality of the situation started to set in. Mark didn't give them the chance to respond. "You don't know her. You don't know anything about her. Maybe she's having a tough day. Maybe she feels out of place. But this isn't the way to make her feel better." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. The group stood still, the air thick with tension. He could feel the eyes of the wedding guests beginning to notice the confrontation, and for a moment, Mark felt like an outsider. But then he looked back at Emily. She was still sitting there, her head down, trying to ignore the world around her. And Mark's heart ached. "You should be ashamed of yourselves," he added, his voice softer this time. "I hope you never find yourself in a place where people judge you for who you are. And I hope you remember that kindness is something we all could use a little more of. Especially today." Without waiting for a reply, Mark turned and walked toward Emily. The noise from the bridesmaids faded as he made his way to her table. "Hi," Mark said, smiling gently. "I'm Mark. Mind if I sit here?" Emily looked up, startled. She had been so focused on the cruel stares and whispers that she hadn't even noticed anyone coming her way. But when she saw the kindness in Mark's eyes, something inside her shifted. She hadn't expected someone to come to her defense. She hadn't expected someone to simply sit with her, to treat her like she mattered. "Of course," Emily replied, her voice a little shaky. I wasn't sure if I should stay. I don't really know anyone here." Mark nodded, his gaze understanding. "Yeah, weddings can feel like that sometimes," he said. "But you deserve to enjoy this day just like everyone else. You're beautiful, Emily. Don't ever let anyone make you feel otherwise." Emily's eyes widened in surprise. She had spent so many years letting others' opinions define her self-worth. For the first time in a long while, someone was reminding her that she was enough just as she was. Thank you," Emily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "I don't even know what to say." Mark smiled. "No need to say anything. Just know that you're seen. And you're not alone. In that moment, something beautiful happened. The room, which had once felt cold and isolating, started to feel warmer. People noticed Emily and Mark sitting together, and slowly, the judgmental stares and whispers began to fade. Emily wasn't invisible anymore. And as the evening went on, the mood shifted. Emily found herself laughing, dancing, and even enjoying conversations with others. The wedding was still beautiful, but now it was even more special. Not because of the flowers or the decorations, but because of the kindness that had been shown in a moment when she needed it the most. Mark stayed by her side for the rest of the evening, teaching his son Caleb, through his actions, the true meaning of kindness. And as the night ended, Emily hugged him tightly, her heart full of gratitude. "Thank you for standing up for me," she said. "You've changed my night, my whole perspective. I don't think I'll ever forget this." Mark smiled. "You're welcome. Just remember, kindness costs nothing. And you're always worth it." As Mark and Caleb left the wedding, the echoes of the evening's laughter filled the air. But this time, the laughter was different. It was genuine, uplifting, and full of love. And Emily? She walked away with her head held high, knowing that kindness had changed the course of her day, and maybe even her life. Hey there! If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Diaries. We're all about spreading positive stories and kindness, and we'd love for you to be part of our community. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and let's continue to spread the message of kindness everywhere we go. In the end, kindness has the power to turn a moment of pain into a moment of growth, to turn isolation into connection, and to remind us all that we are all worthy of love and respect. No matter where you are in life, always remember that kindness can change everything. So go out there and be kind. You never know whose life you might change today.